All right, you guys. So for the majority of the presentation, we are going to be in screen sharing mode where the presentation will take up the majority of your screen. If you have any questions along the way, feel free to unmute your microphone and just shout them out to get our attention. We also have a chat feature down at the bottom of WebEx, or if you're on a mobile device, it might look like a little circular bubble with a little chat speech bubble looking thing. You are more than welcome to type in any questions you have as well, and we'll do our best to answer those. Guys, here we go. Okay. Thank you again to those of you who are just joining us for being here tonight. We appreciate you taking time out of your day to come learn a little bit more about Seesaw. If you are just joining us, thank you, thank you. I'm gonna keep microphones muted for now. All right, you guys, so just a little bit of information. If this is your very first WebEx session with us in Aledo ISD, we just have a couple of reminders and some housekeeping things to make sure that our meeting runs smoothly and to make sure that everybody can hear and has a chance to ask questions if that's something that you've got in the back of your mind. So the first thing is just if you'll keep your microphone muted, if you're not speaking out loud, it just helps cut down on some of the feedback noise we can get in the background. It's you should see a little microphone button down at the bottom. If it's red, that usually means that you're muted. We have the chat feature enabled. This is something that's typically disabled during the day, but we've got it turned on for you guys this evening. If you have questions that pop up, you can just type them in the chat, and then we will be moderating that and try to get your questions answered for you before you leave. At the end, our slideshow will be shared with you all so that you'll have access to come back and view anything that you see tonight. And just again, that reminder, if you've just joined us, we are recording this presentation to share with other families. So if you would like to turn your camera off so that your face is not in the recording, you can certainly do that as well by clicking your camera button and clicking stop video. So thank you again for joining us. So tonight we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to give you kind of a big overview of what Seesaw is, kind of the thought process behind it and its major function in our schools. And then we're going to dive into some of the major parts of Seesaw. All of your students have what's called a learning journal. It's just like a digital portfolio that holds their work. So we'll dive into what that looks like from the student side, as well as what you have access to as a parent. Then we'll get into activities. Those are like the learning tasks that teachers can assign to students in Seesaw. There's an inbox so that teachers can send announcements directly to students and their families. And then there's also a Seesaw Family app. We're going to talk just briefly about that. That's for you as a parent to connect to your student's journal to see the work that they're posting. So if your student is using Seesaw here in the building while they're at school and you're at work in an office somewhere, through your family app, you can log on and see the work that they're adding to their portfolios. And then we've got the majority of our time this evening carved out for questions and answers at the end of our session. We are going to ask if it's a broad kind of general question for the group. We would love to get those answered before you leave. If it's something specific about your student, we can take those questions via email, or we might suggest that you reach out to the teacher directly if it's something that pertains to your individual student, just to make sure that we get you the correct information. My name is Hannah Parsley. I am the instructional specialist at Stewart Elementary, and I am co-presenting tonight with Miss Rebecca Getz. So I'm going to let her introduce herself. We're so excited that she has poured the hours into this presentation to get it ready for you all.
Thank you, Ms. Parsley. I am so excited to be here. I am a first grade remote teacher this year. My home school is Stewart, but I'm delighted to say that my remote class is filled with students from across the district in first grade, and it really has kind of brought us a little bit closer together as a district and for the students. And so I was not familiar with Seesaw until we started in distance learning just this last spring, and since then it has become one of my favorite Oh, was I muted for that, Miss Parsley? Or was I? Okay.
So sorry, Miss Getz. We heard your beginning introduction part about getting to teach remote students from across a couple
Okay,
schools.
and then I went mute.
Yes.
Okay, okay. Well, Seesaw is I didn't have any history with Seesaw until we started in distance learning last spring, and I don't know if you heard the part, but it has become one of my favorite teaching tools because of all of its many capabilities and student ownership over their learning. And so I'm glad that you're here with us this evening, and we're going to go ahead and get started.
All right. So
Just a reminder and useful hint, whenever you are using Seesaw, the friendliest platforms to go through the Google Chrome web browser and make sure you're signed into Launchpad. A lot of the creations that the teachers make are through Google, are through Screencastify, where we save it in their Google Drive, and so they play best if you are signed in on a Google Chrome browser, and if you are going through the district Launchpad. And that's why we have a happy smiley face there, because it just works best in that way. And during this presentation, you will see a lot of pre-recorded videos, and that was very purposeful, not that we don't want to interact and visit with you during this time, but this presentation will also be available throughout the district, so other people who were not able to attend this evening can go back and view that same information. So this one here is just a general overview as to what Seesaw is and what it's capable of. And then we're going to take those different parts and components of Seesaw and break it down a little bit further in detail.
All right, Ms. Getz, let's test it out. If you'll just give a thumbs up so we can make sure that we
Welcome to Seesaw. Seesaw is a portfolio that your student will use to showcase what they're learning and doing at school and share that with you, their family. They'll add photos, videos, drawings, voice recordings, notes, and much more to their learning journal. And you'll be able to see their amazing work right on your phone or computer whenever they post something new. Students love Seesaw because they're able to show what they know with lots of different tools and share their work with meaningful audiences, all while practicing those super important 21st century skills. Teachers love Seesaw because they're able to gain insights from all of their students, see student growth, and have all that classwork organized in one place. Parents love Seesaw because they can be closer to the classroom without being there every day and really understand how their student is doing. Teachers and parents are always in control of how student information is shared. Once you've connected to your child's account using the special invite code or link from your child's teacher, you can view all of their posted work. You'll only see your own child's work and messages that your teacher sends home. When something new is added, you'll get a notification. You can decide if you want notifications via email, push, or text message. Notifications can come each time something new is added or just once a day. You choose the settings you prefer. Once you follow the Seesaw notification, you can see what's going on in the classroom in real time. Teachers can also turn on options for you to like and comment on your child's work to encourage their learning. Remember, the best comments help us learn something new. Things like, wow, you did a great job because, have you considered? Interesting, this made me think of, I'm proud of you because, are great conversation starters. We're all learning together how to communicate and be our best selves online. You can leave a text comment or even a voice comment. Voice comments are perfect for younger learners. Seesaw takes your and your child's privacy seriously. We understand that you're trusting us to protect your child's information, and we promise to provide a service that keeps students safe. You can learn more on our website at web.seesaw.me/privacy. Your participation in your child's learning journey is the best way you can support them as they grow into a kind, curious, and empowered learner. Thank you for being part of the Seesaw family.
Thank you, Ms. Parsley. And I love that. Thank you so much. We're just going to keep track of that as we continue to go through the session this evening, and we'll be sure to come back and answer these. Seesaw, yes, is used for students who are face-to-face and students who are remote learners. It's not used as frequently for the face-to-face students, but there are particular parameters in line to make sure that they're continually using the learning management system, or LMS, as you may have heard it been referred to. And then I see about the parent code. We actually, as soon as we get down to that slide, we'll talk a little bit more about the parent code and how to get signed up as a parent. Thank you for asking. Now, just to give an overview of what the journal looks like in Seesaw, it's a walkthrough from a student perspective. Let's talk about the journal tab in Seesaw. I am here logged into my sample class with my sample student, Becky Getz. And if you see these tabs up above, you can see that there's a journal, activities, and an inbox. The tab we're going to focus on today is the journal tab. And as you can see to the left, all the students' posts are listed in list form right here. And they are from oldest post to most recent post up at the top. Now, this is one way to look at student assignments. Another way to look at assignments is to go up here, and there is a calendar button. When you click on this button, it shows what assignments have been posted for what day. So as I can see, there are 5 items posted for September 9th. When I click on this, it will just show the items in a different way. And I can click on these and look and see what was submitted. This was the health and safety video and response. I'm going to close out of this. And now the students can add to this portfolio or this running list in a couple different ways. Today, we're going to talk about how to use the add button. And a teacher or the classroom teacher would typically tell the students when they want them to use this button. And so if I go up here to this green add button, I click on it, the students are given 6 different options. They can post a photo, a drawing, a video. They can upload a file, a photo, or a video in a different way. They can make a note, or they can even attach an internet link of some sort. So once the students pick one, so let's say I'm going to pick photo. Then I can take a photo of myself. And once I take a photo, I can go ahead and post that to my journal, or the student can post it to the journal. And here it pops up as the most recent post in their running portfolio. So as you can see, anything that the students submit has to have teacher approval, and that's why there's this banner up here. Once the teacher has reviewed it and approved it, then it is part of their running portfolio over to the left. Now, we're aware that everyone's tab in Seesaw. I'm sorry, Ms. Parsley. We're aware that everyone's a little bit of a different spot as far as their background knowledge on Seesaw. And so some of this might be review, and some of this might be some new tips and tricks to help your child at home when they're working on it, and what it would look like from their perspective. So now that we've talked about the journal, we're going to move on to the next tab, which is the activities tab. And especially the remote students, they are doing a lot of their work through the activities tab on things that the teachers have created and assigned to the students. Occasionally, the teacher will ask them to add to their journal using the green add button in the journal, but more often than not, it's grouped under activities. Let's talk about the activities tab in Seesaw. The Activities tab is the second tab above the student name. As you can see, I am still working in my class demo with my sample student. And the Activities tab is where a teacher will assign activities for the students to do. So on my tab, I can see that I have 6 activities I need to complete. When I click on this tab, it will take me to a new screen. And on this new screen, I have 3 new tabs. I have a to-do, in progress, and done. So when I click on to do, it shows this running list over here. And these are all the activities that I need to complete or that my teacher has assigned to me. If I go to in progress, I don't have anything in here right now, but in progress is where a student would start an activity, but then they had to step away or something happened, and the students would just put it in draft mode. I'll show you that a little bit later, and they could come back to it later. It's work in progress. And then this last button here is work that is done. And these are all the activities that I've already completed and submitted. Here I can see my check marks, which says my work is complete. So going back up to my to-do tab. So I look at this first activity. Now there are instructions right here that a student can either read, or if the teacher has it set up, they can play the instructions, and the directions here will be read aloud. So on this, step 1, it says to watch the video. So over here, there's a video. I can press play, and it might be a story, it might be an engagement, it might be instruction. The videos that are put over here could be various. This one is directions on how to complete this activity. So I can watch the video, and then when I'm ready to begin, step 2 is to click the Add Response button. So if I click the Add Response button, it'll take me to a template. This is what we call a template. And over here, this activity has multiple pages to it. It's important to always look and make sure you go through all the pages before you submit. Now, if something happens and a student needs to stop progress, that's where this draft button is. Do you remember that other button? So if a student is not finished, they can click draft and they can come back to it later. Now in here, if your student or child is too young to read this by themselves, sometimes the teacher might include comments down here where if you click it, you can listen to the instructions read aloud. Now, once you start building your template in here and you go to the next page and you're thinking, oh, I forgot exactly what I was supposed to do. View instructions is up here at the top. If you click on this, it brings a drop-down list. And here it goes over the directions again if you ever need to reference them. So I'm going to close this back up. I'm going to complete my activity. And then let's say I want to come back to it later. I'm going to hit draft. And as you can see, it is in draft mode, and the teacher can see this on their end when they're looking through activities. So I'm in the journal tab. If I go back to my activities, I go to my in progress, and see, it popped it into my in progress, and now I can finish a response. So if I go in here to finish my work, let's pretend that I filled all this out. I can click my green check and submit it to my teacher. Now my activities goes down to 5. It took me over to my journal. And over in my journal, I've submitted this activity, which I need my teacher to approve, and then this activity here, which I need my teacher to approve. Okay, and one thing we have run into, I personally have experienced as far as some of the videos is concerned. Again, a lot of the teachers are recording their videos using Screencastify or other programs which are saved in their Google Drive. And in order for some of those videos, those instructional videos to play, it's very helpful that you're signed in through a Google browser and that you're in through the Launchpad so you don't run into problems where it just gives you the spinny wheel and it won't process. And so I'm going to turn it over to Miss Parsley to talk a little bit more about what the activities looks like when they are opened and the students are working within them.
Thank you, Ms. Getz. Yes, so this next video, it's going to be a little bit of a longer chunk. It's a 5-minute tutorial. We thought at this point in the school year, especially now that your students, if they are face-to-face learners, they've already experienced that hybrid model where they were learning and completing activities in Seesaw 3 days a week. The interface of Seesaw is very simplistic in its style, and that's because it's designed for young learners to be able to be independent and take responsibility in their learning. However, the tools and kind of the thought process behind it is very complex and detailed. So we wanted to take a minute to dive into all of the tools that students can use when they are completing activities, because they have many, many options to show off their learning. So this next part is going to be about what they can do while they are completing an activity. When students are working in Seesaw to complete an activity, they have several toolbars available to help them complete their assignments. Let's start at the top. So at the top toolbar, we've got a few options. The first option with the magnifying glass is for students to zoom in on the page that they're working. This is going to be helpful if they are working on a smaller screen like an iPad. The next option that looks like a frame will just remove all of these peripheral toolbars. So if I close that, it'll show me just the page to help me focus on the content, and then I can click that same button to bring all of my toolbars back. We have an undo and a redo button. Students can view instructions from their teacher while they're in the activity just in case. They can save their work as a draft if they plan to return to it later. And then when they're completely finished, they use this green check mark to submit their work to their teacher. Okay, let's move to this toolbar here on the left side. The first option will create a text box for students so they can type an answer. Sometimes it's difficult for them to write with their fingers or with a mouse, so these text boxes are really handy. They can type as much as they need. They can resize them and move them anywhere on the page. They can also use this rainbow slider on the right to change the color. Let's undo to move that off of there. The next option that they can do is use the microphone to record their voice. So if they would like to record their explanation for their teacher or kind of narrate the work that they've created to explain their thinking, this option will be great. They just click the microphone, it automatically starts recording for them. Please note that the microphone will need to be enabled on the device. You can do that through your device settings. The same thing is true for this next option, the camera. They will need the camera option enabled on their device settings. When that is ready, they can take a photo to add to their activity. So if they've drawn it out on paper, they can use the photo option to take a photo and paste it here on the activity. They can record a video, or they can upload something that they already have in the camera roll on their device. So those are handy if students are adding an artifact to their activity. And then this three little dot menu will let them add shapes to their work. So if they click on a shape, it will add it. They can resize it and drag it anywhere they would like on the page. Background will change the background of their activity. If it doesn't have an image like this one from the teacher, they can select from various colors and various patterns. And then lastly, they can insert a link if they would like to direct their teacher to an outside source. This is not likely for our kinder, first, and second grade students, but it's an option nonetheless. And like Ms. Getz said in the last video, if there are any voice recordings attached to this particular page from the teacher, they'll show up here in these captions. So I can see that there is a 9-second recording with this slide. It's probably my teacher reading the instructions to me for this page. So that's our left-hand menu. Across the bottom are some creation tools for students to use to draw attention to a particular part. They've got the finger option. This just puts me in click mode where I can click on other things and resize some shapes or text boxes that are on the page. Then we have the writing utensils. We have a pencil, we have a pen, a highlighter, a cool glow stick type marker, and then of course an eraser that they could use. With all of these tools here, the rainbow slider pops up again. That just means they can change the color of the utensil that they're writing with. When they're ready to move on, they turn the hand back on to turn those off. Again, if they make a stray mark like this that they didn't mean, help remind students that the undo button is there so they don't have to use this smaller eraser and wipe it across the entire screen. Okay, so those are their creation tools across the bottom. Lastly, we have this right-hand menu, which is just how students can navigate through the multiple pages of their activity if that's something that they'll need to do. They can also minimize that toolbar if they would like to make their screen a little larger, and then they just use that same button to bring those pages back. So that's just a quick rundown of all of the tools available to students while they complete their activities. Okay, like we said earlier, it's very robust in the amount of options that students have when they're completing their assignments or their activities. You guys, I apologize. There is some serious lag time in getting out of, when students are working in Seesaw, getting out of video mode and getting back to presentation mode. All right, so we've got 2 more videos to show you this evening. I'm going to turn it back over to Ms. Getz to talk about the inbox and then the parent app.
Well, thank you, Ms. Parsley. And activities is my view, the teacher view is exactly the same as the student view within the activities. And so everything that I use to create the activities, I use those same toolbars, which is why it's pretty exciting that the students have those same activities, because I think it's very empowering for the students to learn those technology tools and figure out which one serves best. And so they're on the multiple pages. If for some reason something's not working, the students even have the ability to add an additional page if needed to the lesson. And so now this talks about the inbox feature in Seesaw, which is the 3rd tab. And this will be a lead in to the parent family app and communication. Now let's take a look at the inbox tab in Seesaw. As you can see, it looks like I have one new message or notification over here. When I click on this tab, again, it's going to take me to a new screen. And there's 2 tabs underneath. I have messages and I have notifications. And it looks like over here in messages, this is where the teacher can send messages to just the students. The teacher can send messages to the students and family members, or just the family members. And it looks like 2 previous postings are of the weekly newsletter and of upcoming virtual curriculum night. Now, I do see a posting that I have 1 new notifications. Notification is different than messages because notifications have to do with the journal itself and the activities that have been submitted. So in here, I can see if my teacher has approved an item. And so if my teacher approved it, it says, your teacher has added an item to your journal. I can see if my teacher has commented on any of my work. And I can see if my teacher has sent back work for me to review. And it looks like I needed to, or the sample student needed to go back and review their work a couple different times. Now, if the teacher sent this back for review, where does it go? It goes back into the activities tab. So my activities tab, if I click back over there, I can see the activity is right here and it's in draft mode, and I just need to go back and finish it. The inbox can also serve as 2-way communication. So once the teacher has enabled family access, parents and family can message the teacher directly too. And on the teacher's side, they too will get notifications if family members have sent them a message. Perfect. And that's kind of a lead in to answer one of the chat questions as well. It really just depends on the teacher on how they choose to communicate with the families. And so, for example, even as a remote teacher, I do not have the family access enabled at this point. Because I communicate with my families through the Remind app, where it has those same features. However, my class is remote, and so the students and the parents are able to see a lot of what's going on there. It might be a different situation if it was a face-to-face student and their child was using the Seesaw app in the classroom, and it would be a way for you to see that even though you're not on campus with them. And so this is going to lead into the family app, how to get started, and whether or not it's enabled, you may need to contact your child's teacher if that's something you're interested in. To get started with Seesaw Family, your child's teacher can invite you in a couple different ways. One way is through a paper invitation like this one here. It has a large QR code with directions down below on how to get started from a smartphone, or how to get started from your computer. Another way a teacher might invite you is through an email invitation, where if you check your email, you may get an invitation with the same instructions that you would find on the paper form.
Once you have accepted the teacher's invitation to sign up for Seesaw Family, you can log in and view your child's work from your phone or from a desktop computer. You can go through the web browser, or you can download the app, the Seesaw Family app, and you can view their work. As you can see, there are 3 tabs up at the top: Home, Journals, and Inbox. The Home button is going to give you a running list of their journal items and things that they have submitted into their portfolio. When you go through here, you can also see places where you can like their work or make comments on their work. If you go up here to the Journals tab, this is where if you have multiple children, you can switch between journals and accounts. Also under the Journals tab, you can see if you need to add another child, you can by pressing this button here. Now the other tab is the Inbox tab, and from here, you have messages and notifications, just like your child does, just like the teacher does. It is also through here that you can send a message to your child's teacher. The last thing I want to show you in Seesaw Family is the settings option. So if you go to your name in the top left and click on it, you also have an option here to add a child's journal, but down here you also have account settings. And when you originally sign up, please sign up as the parent name and not the student name. So that way when the teacher looks at it, the teacher can see that it's the parent signing up. That just helps the teacher a little bit. Once you open up account settings, there's a lot of different things you can do to customize this. If you scroll down, I'm going to draw your attention to class notifications and parent notifications. So you can set this up on how you want to be notified and how often you would like to be notified of things that are going into your child's journal. And under Manage Children, if you have a child who grows out of Seesaw and is now going to be working out of Canvas, you can go through here and you can also manage the number of children that you have in their account, and you can update that from there as well. One last special consideration is Seesaw Family is just for families. This is not the place where students would do their work. In order for the students to complete activities that have been assigned by their teacher, they must go through the Alito Launchpad and access Seesaw from the class link.
And like Ms. Getz said, our teachers have had the option. It's a teacher setting where they enable the family access. We know that many teachers have not enabled this option yet for you guys. I know they're trying to be mindful. We know that you guys are getting several emails with all the back to school and the updates on our return to learn. So this might be something that's coming soon. If you are interested in connecting to your students' account through the family app, if they are a face-to-face learner and you just want to see what they're working on throughout the week, you can reach out to your child's teacher and find out more details about how they sent the invitations or when they plan on doing that. Okay, so the rest of the time we wanted to make sure that we had protected for you guys to ask some general questions about Seesaw if it's something that might pertain to the whole group, things that you're wondering if you can do with Seesaw, some functionality questions, anything like that. We just put a reminder up of all of the things that we have discussed so far. We also wanted to put our contact information if you would like to email something specifically to Ms. Getz or myself to follow up. And something new that the Alito ISD has started this year to support families even farther is a special email account to address questions about Seesaw or Canvas. So that's the orange one that you see here in the middle, lms@alitoisd.org. So make sure you take down that email address. There will be somebody responding to your emails to help troubleshoot if you have connectivity issues or something happens with your account settings, anything like that, that we can help get resolved from our side. You also have district support as well. And then lastly, your child's teacher, of course, is going to be the expert on their specific class settings and everything that's set up for you guys to access from your parent side. So we will be moderating the chat. If you have questions that you want to type in, that's okay. If you just want to unmute your microphone and ask a question to the group, that's okay as well. We're happy to hear from you.
Ms. Parsley, I see that we had one question come through on the chat. It is there a way to download items from the child's journal? That's a good question. The first thing I think of is what kind of items? Is it instructional materials, videos that the teacher has created, or is it student items? Because some of those are possible, some of them are not. Usually in video mode, so if there's a video in Seesaw, you can put it in maximize, and then down at the bottom right side, it'll have a couple buttons where it'll give you the option to download if you click on the 3 dots.
Yes, and just to build on what Ms. Getz said, something that we love about Seesaw is that as your students, of course, we're only using this right now with kinder, first, and second, as they grow out of Seesaw, like Ms. Getz mentioned earlier, there will be an option once teachers archive their class at the end when summer break comes and they're moving on. If they're kinder moving up or first grade moving up, their same Seesaw account will follow them. For our second graders, there will be an option once our teachers archive the accounts where you can compress all of the artifacts in your student's journal and download the entire portfolio as a zip drive and save it on your computer so that you will have access. If you've got a kindergartner starting right now, in the next 2 years, as their portfolio grows, you will be able to save it in its entirety as well. So that's a really cool feature of Seesaw.
Thank you, Ms. Parsley. And there's a few more questions coming in. There's a question, is there a way to adjust the font size when using the text toolbox? That is a great question. And Ms. Parsley, if you want to go ahead and set up my demo account where I can just go in and kind of show what that looks like.
So wonderful, Ms. Getz.
Okay. Ms. Parsley, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see this all right? Okay, thank you so much. Okay, let's, I'm in my demo account and I'm just going to hop right into one of the activities. I'm going to add a response for my sample student. And so in the activity, I'm actually going to add a page so you can see what it looks like on a blank page. So here I have a blank page here. And if I hit the text tool, I can type something in here. And if you click, right now I'm in typing mode, but if you click off to the side, it gives you these dots along the side where you can resize. So I can resize the box itself, but I can also resize the text. So if I take it from one of the corners, I can make it really large, or I can make it really small. And so those are some ways that you can modify the text box and the size of the font.
Ms. Getz, we had Corbett Clark asked if this will be recorded. Yes, if you joined us after we got started, we will share the slide presentation with you that had all of those tutorial videos as well as the full recording. So if there's anything you want to go back and watch, that will be there as well. Let's see, Ashley, can we adjust the font of something that the teacher wrote? Are you asking like once in the teacher activity, can that be made smaller?
Like today, my daughter had something on the screen and she had to like read it back to the teacher on the record, but the font was so small that it was even like hard for me to read it. So is there a way to change that to make it bigger? If it's, I think it's like locked sometimes.
Well, that's a good question too, Ashley, because sometimes it can be finicky when the teachers, a lot of times what they're doing when they're building an activity is using an image as the background, which is the text that you see, and then your student is writing over that image. Yes, when she's in activity mode and she's responding to the teacher. So if you get the activity assigned and she clicks her add response button like she's going to turn in work, when she's in that edit activity mode, there's a little magnifying glass button that will be up in the top left corner. And that was in our third video on slide 8. So when you have a chance to go back and rewatch those slides, yes, there is a magnifying glass because we know that can be kind of tricky with Seesaw, especially with younger students that might be working on an iPad mini. And it's very tiny for them to see.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, have her check that top left corner.
Okay.
Miss Parsley, if I can follow in on that, in regards to adjusting font size that the teacher may have put on the screen, it again, like Miss Parsley said, it really depends on how the teacher created it. If the teacher created the templates, for instance, in a Google slide and transferred them over, there's not as much ability to adjust that font size aside from using the zoom in, zoom out feature. But if it is something that the teacher has created, like a text box within Seesaw, the student has just as many accesses or, abilities that the teacher does. So you would just have to click on that item with the finger move button, and it'll unlock it. You can unlock it and move that to big or small, whatever size you need. So it really depends on how it was created. I know that's not a real a simple answer, but those are a couple different features.
Anything else? I just wanted to put us back in presentation mode. I saw a few people are still joining in on the meeting. Just a reminder that Ms. Getz and myself, our email addresses are here. We are more than happy to help answer questions if it's something specific about your student Seesaw account. And then our district now has started a specific email address for parent questions in regard to Seesaw and Canvas. So if you're having login issues or need some technical support from the learning management system, that's the orange address there in the middle. So make sure you take that down before you leave, just for future reference. Let's see. Yes, Juanita, you should, from the computer, it's going to be just the website interface. So if you go to the Seesaw website, when you get on that landing page, it'll ask you, are you a student? Are you a parent? Are you a teacher? And you'll choose that parent option in the middle and use your same login credentials that you would for the app. Yes, that's a good question.
And Ms. Parsley, I see we have another one in regards to cropping pictures. Again, that's a great question. Ms. Parsley, if you want to stop sharing for just a second, I'll show a quick demonstration. It really kind of depends on the picture that you're wanting to crop. So for example, I went ahead and I uploaded the Alito Bearcat image here. It is in a picture, the 3 dots here. I can lock this picture, which is usually how it comes when the teacher assigns it, but it can be unlocked. And again, it puts those cropping bars along the side of it. And so what you can do is you can drag it around. You can take it from a corner and you can make it smaller, or you can make it a little bit larger to wherever you need it to go. And you can also stretch it out if you need to, but usually it maintains the same ratio if you drag it from the corners.
Thank you, Ms. Getz. That's helpful. Let's see. We just had another question from Nick. Okay, Nick, that's interesting. He was saying that he would log in once, activities might not be showing. He would log out, log back in again, and boom, there they are, even within a minute of each log in. I hope it's just a technical glitch. We do have kind of a elementary-wide expectation. Our teachers, we know, especially during the hybrid period with many of our families being working families, some students would need to access their work before the school day started. And now most of our remote teachers are still following that same expectation that Seesaw activities be published and live for students by midnight so that they have a full 24 hours to complete their tasks. So if it's that current day, yes, Nick, it sounds like you did the right thing. Just refreshing, reload it. Sometimes we have those technical glitches where it just doesn't show up. So I'm glad you've been able to see. I know that's frustrating.
I really appreciate the questions because it's kind of a new adventure for all of us. So getting to see it from the parent side too is very helpful.
Yes, anything else? Feel free to type it in the chat bar or just unmute if you want to ask it to the group out loud. Anything else? If you've already got those email addresses and you got the information that you needed, you are more than welcome to hop off. We appreciate you joining us tonight. We hope that we helped bring a little bit more light and clarity around Seesaw and what your students are able to do to show off their learning. Yes, Miss Mejia. Yes, we mentioned this a little bit. I'm sharing an account with my husband. Okay, so it sounds like you did get a parent access code from your child's teacher, and then the account was set up initially through your husband. That same access code, Ms. Getz, correct me if I'm wrong, that same access code should work for multiple parents. You'll just follow some of those same steps to set up your account as yourself. Is that right, Ms. Getz? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I believe so. Or in some families, a husband will have one account, their spouse will have another account, like a different email account. And so if you would like the teacher to send an email invite to a different email address so they're separate, that's another possibility as well to sign up so you both can put inspirational comments on your child's work.
Great questions. We'll hang out for a few more minutes. We know it's not quite 6 o'clock yet, so we'll hang out if there's any other questions coming in. If not, we just appreciate you so much for taking time out of your evening to come learn a little bit more about Seesaw. We're very excited about what our students are doing with that tool here at school, and all that they were able to accomplish at home during hybrid learning. We know our remote learners are rocking and rolling already. So we're so grateful that you came and learned a little bit more about it with us. Just a reminder, the slides will be shared with you. So if you'd like to share those with your spouse that wasn't able to join us, those will be ready. As well as the full recording if you want to go back and watch some of those frequently asked questions. All of that will be coming out very soon. We appreciate you so much.
Thank you. I see a lot of Alito families out there that I recognize names, and it's like having a meeting with family. So thank you for being here with us.
I think that's a shout out to you, Mrs. Getz, one of our remote teachers. She's first grade remote at Stewart Elementary. And all of our remote teachers, as well as face-to-face, they are going above and beyond to make sure that students feel loved and that they have a safe space to learn.
Thank you. Yes, I'm seeing my classmates or my students come through. I'm loving that.
Hi, I'm so sorry. I'm joining late, but I thought I just heard you say that there's going to be a recording of this meeting. Will that be sent out by Alito ISD, or where do I get that?
Yes, keep checking your email. We'll send, I believe it'll come through communications like the majority of your News Blast emails. We will send out, we used a slideshow with some embedded videos to kind of walk you through the different features of Seesaw, as well as the full recording of the session so that you can hear some questions that were asked by other families as well. So yes, keep checking your email. Be on the lookout for that very soon. We appreciate you for joining us.
Great. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Just hang on for a few more minutes in case any other questions come in. I feel like we should tell a story, Miss Getz. I will say one of my favorite parts about using Seesaw as a teacher was the family app and having it was not in the times of remote learning by any means, but just the connectivity that Seesaw can bring to the classroom for our working families and the students when they have the devices, if they're logged into Seesaw and they see that one of their parents likes or comments on their work while they're in an office working in downtown Fort Worth and the students out, here in Aledo working, it's just really powerful. The motivation side for the students and the encouragement that our parents can provide through that family connection. So that's one of my favorite things about Seesaw.
Mine as well, Miss Parsley. It's Seesaw has really changed the classroom environment and how students can connect with technology every day.
We saw Sarah, yes, the family app is really exciting. We did note earlier in our presentation, it is a setting from the teacher's side, the teacher account. So if that is a feature that your teacher has enabled, they can send you an invitation in a couple different ways. They can send you a paper invitation that will come home in your student's folder that will give you a QR code to connect. They can email you directly, or they can send you your student's class code and have you access their portfolios that way. So that is a good question for your student's teacher, just to reach out to them and ask, is the family access enabled for their class, and how do you get your code? It's very powerful. Let's see, can we? Yes, Mr. Mays, we see, can you log on to students in the class version from the same app? They can log in from the same device, but they'll need to be logged in at different times. So if you've got one student that's working in the class app, is that what you were asking? I hope I understood that correctly. Once you close out of this Seesaw app and open it back up, it typically leaves the student logged in until they log out. So if you do have two students in your household that are using the same device, they'll have to make sure that they are logged out of Seesaw before their sibling comes along and uses that same device through the app. We do encourage most of our families to go through Launchpad each time that your students are accessing Seesaw. And we have learned through remote learning and all the turmoil that Google Chrome is the most friendly browser for Seesaw. So if your students are accessing on a laptop or a computer, just making sure that Google Chrome is the internet browser that you're using, and then going to their Aledo ISD Launchpad account to get logged in will ensure that they're in the right account, because that could be confusing if they're sharing the same app and you don't want one student posting work as another student. So I hope that helps answer your question. I'm going to add that website one more time for those of you that are still with us. The school district did set up a dedicated email account to help field some questions that you might have specifically about Seesaw or Canvas, our learning management systems. And that email address is lms@aledoisd.org. I'll put that in. Oh, nope, I just sent it to Ms. Getz privately. Let's try that one more time. lms@aledoisd.org. There we go. Just to have that handy for future reference if you run into login issues or you're having some technical glitches with your students being able to post their activities or anything like that. Okay, you guys, we are coming up on about 6 o'clock. Just a reminder, if you joined us a little bit later in the presentation, the slides that we used for tonight, there are some tutorial videos that Mrs. Getz made on how to navigate through Seesaw, as well as the entire recording of this session. They will all be shared with you. So be checking your email accounts, whatever you use to get your district emails. Be looking for that in the next day or so to come out, so you will have access to the presentation for future reference. lms@aletoisd.org is that district email in case you need that with any questions. If there aren't any other questions, we're going to go ahead and get logged off. We appreciate you so much for taking the time out of your afternoon. We know you have so many things to be doing, busy with family, so we just appreciate you taking the time to come learn more about Seesaw with us.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Ms. Getz. This was so fun to do with you.
Yes, it was great.
Thank you so much for a great night. Please email us with any questions, and we will talk to you soon.
Good evening.